podcast starts.
Hello everyone and welcome back to And Now the Podcast Starts, a show which talks about horror, cinema and anything related that takes the interest of my wonderful co-hosts or myself. I'm TD Velasquez, but as always you can call me Dan in Greater Manchester, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by...
Stella, also in Manchester.
And what's the weather like where you are, Stella?
I wasn't going to say anything. Hang on, let me open the curtains. It is grey with a chance of grey later on and slowly changing to more grey, I imagine. Yeah.
That sounds like the northwest.
Yeah.
That sounds like my childhood. Wonderful. I'm looking out the window and I can see some trees blowing, but they look like they can only half be bothered to blow, to be honest. It's not very exciting, but at least
it's not very exciting. It's not as exciting as when we were dying of heat. Now it's just miserable.
The important thing is we keep finding new ways to complain about the weather, whatever it's like. That's the British way. So. I need to apologise to the listeners because at the end of last episode I promised that we'd all be talking about the movie The Black Cat this week. And we'd be joined by a special guest, Spider Dan, from the Spider Dan and the Secret Boys podcast. Sadly, all that plan has changed. Spider Dan had to drop out at the last minute, and also, very sadly, we're missing Kirsty this week. She had some conflicts, so we've had some changes of plan completely. But instead, we're still going to have some Spider Dan on the podcast, funnily enough, because we're going to be running our review of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers from 1988, which we recorded a couple of years ago but has never been released before. So it's myself and Howard and Spider Dan talking about that movie. And then next week we're going to follow it up with the same team talking about Halloween 5, which struck me as appropriate because those two movies are kind of made back to back with the same cast. So it seemed a good idea to just put those two reviews out. So that's what we're doing. So listeners, you are getting some Spider Dan as promised, but just know The Black Cat, Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat from 1981. We're all going to watch and discuss. We haven't done that. We will get back to it, though, later on for any fans of Italian horror movies in the listenership. In the meantime, I'd like to say, obviously, I've been speaking to Spider Dan. He's fine. It was just a work conflict that he couldn't make it. I've also had a chat on the phone to our mysterious and never appearing in live form co-host Howie over the weekend. He'd like to assure all listeners that the reason that we only ever include him on archive recordings as such is not because he's dead. He's absolutely fine. He's just he's at home in Whitchurch, isolated with his parents who are vulnerable, and there's no Wi-Fi available to him, so it's very difficult to get him live on the show. But we've had a chat, and we're going to try and include him a bit more somehow going forward.
Yeah.
But whenever we do a Halloween review, he will be there because he recorded all of those with us a couple of years ago. So you're going to hear quite a lot of him over the next couple of weeks anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was really good to catch up with Howie and also to speak to Spider Dan, who was very enthusiastic about coming on the show, and he will eventually come on the show live, I'm sure. In the meantime, there's more of him to come with the Halloween reviews as well. So, Stella, have you got news from horror or life that you'd like to talk about this week?
Two little bits of horror news, one of them relating to Halloween and one not. So the Halloween one, I saw across social media the last couple of days that Halloween Kills, so the next Halloween one to come out, has been put back, unfortunately. Its release has been put back to October 2021. However, they have released a short teaser trailer, which you can easily find if you do a quick search online, which looks great. So it sort of answers what all the sort of fan chatter was after the Halloween that was 2018, was it?
18.
Yeah. So it answers the fan chatter or the fan theories that people were thinking about kind of. It's got, I mean, the teaser trailer doesn't give anything away about the end of the last Halloween. Essentially, Jamie Lee Curtis screaming "Let it burn" as the firefighters go screeching past. Obviously, it's got the lovely Halloween theme music on it. So yeah, I had a look at the teaser trailer when seeing that the Halloween Kills has been delayed until 2021 because of pandemic issues. But yeah, the little teaser trailer, could only be 20 seconds long, but it was enough to make me go, ooh. So that's
right.
Good. Yeah.
I've heard that maybe it's actually just the opening of the movie.
It looks that way, to be honest, because it looks like it's just picked up from where we left off. So yeah, it might just be they're just showing us a little bit of the intro, but what they've shown us looks good. Everyone looks
cool.
in it looks suitably horrified and traumatized, so that's what we're there for.
Yep, I'm excited about that one. I'm glad you mentioned that, although it was some news that I wanted to talk about as well. Because I just found out this morning. Well, no, because we covered it anyway, and I've just mentioned that, we are doing the Halloween reviews this week and next week. So because I've been editing those, I've been thinking about Halloween for the last couple of days, and then suddenly I got up this morning and heard that the new film's been delayed for a year, and it's like I'm on this kind of 2-year process of frustrated plans, because we originally recorded all our reviews designed to lead up to the release of the 2018 film, but then that didn't happen because I couldn't get them out quickly enough. And now I thought, we'll release them all to lead up to the 2020 film, and now that film's been delayed. So
it's cursed.
So we still have 6 more reviews after these 2 that are coming out now. So maybe we'll spread them over a whole year.
Yes, if you really drag it out, that'll be fine.
Yeah, so
absolutely fine.
But I was looking forward to. In October this year, if the new film did come out, I was hoping that we'd be able to get together and we'd do
go to the cinema.
Yeah, and obviously review the new film, but also before reviewing the new film, do an episode where we'd have a chat, looking back on all the films that we'd seen before, because it is obviously 2 years since we talked about them in the recordings. So I'd just kind of like to have done that. But obviously, even if the film did come out, I don't know if we'd be able to all get together in the current situation.
Yeah.
So anyway, we adapt, and heaven knows there's plenty of Halloween sequels that we've not published podcasts on yet. So that'll flow through fine. And I haven't seen the 20-second teaser yet. Actually, I've heard about it. Obviously, so I'm not sure I will watch it. Even though I hear from you and from others that it sounds great. Just because I probably want to see the movie, and I don't necessarily want to get myself really excited about a film that I'm not going to see for more than a year.
I know, yeah. Well, as long as that 14 months away, that's quite the wait.
So
yeah. Oh well, we'll get there.
There we go. Did you say you had some other news?
Yeah, the other one's just a little thing that I saw, again, sort of kicking around social media yesterday. It looks like there's a new Constantine live action being in the works at Warner Brothers, supposedly directed by J.J. Abrams. I guess that'll might be all style and no substance, but we'll see, because I really enjoyed the first Constantine film in 2005, I think it was, with Keanu Reeves.
Yes, and Tilda
the current
Swinton.
chatter about this new one isn't entirely sure whether it's a brand new reboot of it, or if it's going to be a sequel with Keanu Reeves. I'm hoping for a sequel with Keanu Reeves, because who doesn't like Keanu Reeves?
Sure.
So that's exciting. So that's been hopefully slowly being made, but I guess, with pandemic and everything being delayed and stuff, that might be a while before it's actually out. But yeah, it would appear that it's fitting with Warner Brothers, sort of the rest of their other sort of DC movies that they've been up to and have got sort of planned for the future. So yeah, I'm glad they're bringing Constantine back, because it's a definite favourite of mine.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Constantine is the Hellblazer comic book, isn't it?
Yeah.
and they changed the name for the movie, and I think they made a TV series as well.
Yeah, one season, and then it was cancelled. I've not actually seen it, so I don't know if it was cancelled because it was crap or if it was cancelled for other industrial reasons. I don't know, but yeah, I should have a look at it really, because that's my job.
Am I right in? Well, I'll leave that with you. No criticism from me. But am I right in thinking that John Constantine is a character from the Sandman comics? I feel like I have
possibly
read some of those, and I think he turned up in them.
Maybe.
Unless I'm thinking about someone else.
Don't know. Somebody fact check that for us.
Yes, please do. Might have to be me. And I've always assumed that the reason they don't call the movies Hellblazer is because it sounds too much like Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, yeah.
But again, I don't know if that's a fact. Okay, but that sounds good fun. I've got one other bit of news.
Yeah.
Which is on one of the very early episodes of our podcast, we talked about the director Rob Savage and his short lockdown horror movie that you can still see online, and that Kirsty and I went into detail on, because it's only about 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
So we had a spoilery discussion of it. It's just been announced that Rob has been asked by Shudder to not expand the short, but to make a feature-length film along the same lines, basically a Zoom-based horror movie.
Right.
And it's going to be released on Shudder on the 20th of this month.
Oh, so that's quick.
Yeah, absolutely. They've written and produced it in 3 months flat, and it's a full feature movie. And yes, it's exclusive to Shudder, and it's only a couple of weeks away. So that's very exciting news. And that might be like a record-breaking turnaround for a feature film. I think certainly since Roger Corman made Little Shop of Horrors in 2 days flat. Anyway, and I can't think of anything else quicker. So that's amazing. Yeah, so
cool.
We'll keep an eye on that. But yes, it's 20th of it's the 30th of July.
This month.
This month that it premieres on Shudder. So there's an excuse to go and take out a Shudder subscription.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff on Shudder, to be fair. I mean, I don't think it's that expensive, and have my subscription
you
on
get a free trial of a week.
Yeah.
As well at the moment. I don't know if that's always the case, but yeah.
They've got tons of movies. They've always got new stuff coming on, and they've made some of their own series as well now. Dead Wax is particularly good, about somebody searching for a haunted record player. It's a bit like the video in what's it called?
In the Ring.
In the Ring, yeah.
Right, okay.
Listen to the record and you die kind of situation. What else is on there? They brought back Creepshow, George Romero's version of Creepshow.
They've made that into an anthology series, have they? Right,
yeah.
Okay.
And they've got Channel Zero on there from the Sci-Fi Channel, which is based on some of the creepypastas online. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff over on Shudder, and I don't think it's that expensive for what you get, to be honest.
I think I'm definitely going to give. No, but I can sense the sincerity. I'm definitely going to give it a free trial at least. I might leave it to time it for when Host is premiered, so I can definitely see that. But sounds really good. So and that bit of news was via Kirsty, by the way. I didn't know about it until Kirsty sent me the link, so she asked me to include it. And that's something to look forward to. Okay, so shall we hand over to myself from the past and Howie from the past and Spider Dan, who, by the way, when we recorded this particular episode, Spider Dan hadn't started his own podcast yet, so wasn't yet going by the moniker of Spider Dan. We might have called him Dan B, because there were two Dans on the show, so so I was Dan A and he was Dan B. But please be assured it is Spider Dan, whose podcast is still going out weekly. He hasn't been interrupted during the pandemic, and I was just listening back this week. He did a good episode about Not this week's episode, but I've been going through the backlog because he just arrived on Acast, which is my podcatcher, and before he wasn't on there, so I couldn't listen to him very easily. But I went back and he did an episode about the Aliens comic books, all the comic books set in the Aliens universe, and that was quite cool. Anyway, he's going to be here right now through the bounds of time. So we'll hand over to the past. Our listeners, Stella and I, will be back at the end of the show with our customary recommendations and wrap up. So at the moment, enjoy it. We talk about Halloween 4.
Today we'll be talking about Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, released in 1988. I am your co-host Howie.
I am your co-host Dan, and once again we are honoured to be joined by the marvellous secondary Dan on the podcast.
Hello again.
Hello Dan,
it's good to be back.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Dan.
But nobody can see us.
No.
That's the magic.
Just as well,
because we look horrendous.
To quote John Carpenter, what a bunch of ugly losers.
Naked,
he may not have
ugly
been
losers.
He may not be talking about us, but last time we were here we talked about Halloween 3, Dan, which you had not actually seen.
Yes, don't worry, this time I have seen Halloween 4.
Superb.
And some subsequent ones as well. So I've caught up, so I do apologise for my lack of not knowledge, but I'd say lack of kind of recent viewing, I would say. But I can talk shit a lot. I've found when I do or do not know about something. So that is one of my gifts.
I have to say, Dan, having not seen the film recently did not in any way dent your performance.
Why, thank you. Too kind.
The previous two podcasts. But you have seen this one. Have you seen this film recently, Howard?
No, I've never seen it before in my life. Yes, I saw it. Yes, I saw it recently. Yes, I did, yes.
Okay, great.
And I enjoyed it.
As did I, and I also read some of the script because I wanted to do a bit of a deep dive on Halloween 4. So what we tend to do at the start of each episode is talk about how we first saw this movie, and Dan B, you are the guest.
I am the guest. Okay, so again, first time I watched it was my mum's boyfriend. I think I said this last time. Lent me basically the entire Halloween franchise up to that point. I think it's probably up to 6. I think. So I probably saw it then. I didn't remember it that well. But I was kind of binging them at the time, so they all kind of bled into one a little bit, especially the last 3, I think. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I didn't hate it when I initially saw it. It's just like, it's a Halloween film. There's a lot of killings.
So, because you'd been allowed to binge on this collection of horror movies, did you watch the franchise in order?
So I was kind of. He basically gave me He's a bit of a horror aficionado. He's got tattoos of Michael Myers, Pinhead, a zombie Batman. So that's kind of his his jam, if you will. So yeah, he's lent me that, and I think he bought me the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise as a box set as well, and I've been kind of binged all those as well. But yeah, it was good and interesting at the time. Again, my memory of watching it the initial time isn't that great. But I again didn't hate it. Didn't Yeah, it was fine at the time. I was quite young, so it was just, I think a lot of those kind of franchises kind of meld a little bit after because there are so many of them. They can, not taking anything away from the films or any of the other franchises, but they do kind of meld together.
Yes.
And my memory doesn't hold up that well.
That's fair enough.
Tell me about it.
I think I possibly did hate it when I first saw
Okay.
it, but we'll go into detail on that in a moment. Howard, what about you?
Well, actually, I can't remember the first time I saw this. 7 or 8 years ago. I think I probably bought it from a charity shop. I think I mentioned in the last last podcast we did that I watched Halloween with my nephew, and he absolutely loved it. He loved Michael Myers and the whole film, and that slightly reawakened my interest in Halloween as well. And yeah, it's a great, and Halloween 2 as well. So I thought, well, if I ever see Halloween 4, 5, and 6 for sale, I'll buy them and have a look at it. So yeah, I can't exactly remember when it was. It was a few years ago, and I bought it and watched it, and so yeah, this is. I mean, I don't remember it coming out. It came out in 1988, and I don't remember because I was at like a sixth form college, just started sixth form college, and I started going to the cinema quite a lot. But I don't remember this. I mean, we went to see Hellraiser 2. I remember.
Oh,
Hellbound.
Hellbound was it? Yeah, Eggbound, and one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. But I don't remember anybody ever saying, "Do you want to go and see Halloween 4 or it coming out or anything?" So I don't think it was a big thing, was it, when it came out? I don't think it was.
Possibly.
Was it straight to video or something like that?
It was. No, it wasn't. But it possibly wasn't a big thing in Britain.
Right.
It did get a cinematic release, but I think possibly most of the impact it had and the money it made was in America and other territories, because Halloween 5 did go straight to video in Britain, whereas it was cinematic in America.
I can understand that.
So, but I feel like, regardless of what we might say about the quality of Halloween 5, which is obviously for another episode, I think if Halloween 4 had been a massive thing in Britain, then 5 would have followed its way to cinemas. It only came out a year later.
The Halloween films are quite quintessentially very American, aren't they? They do have a kind of Norman Rockwellian feel to them, especially Haddonfield itself. So I can see why it wouldn't necessarily, sell over here and maybe the rest of kind of Europe possibly.
Well, it was a long time after Halloween. It was like 1988. It's like 10 years after the first one, which was a massive success, and 7 years after the second one, which I think was a success as well, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But that's kind of like a long time. A lot of other things had come along. The Nightmare on Elm Street had come along.
Friday the 13th.
A lot of other sort of stuff had happened. So maybe Halloween had kind of got a bit sort of lost in the lost in the pack kind of thing, whatever.
Slightly the more of the classier slasher movies as well, and everything else was a bit more about slowly got more and more kind of gory and more about the bloodletting.
You mean Halloween was the classier?
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah. Halloween is the classier, more kind of subtle and haunting.
Possibly it was up to this point.
Yeah, this is when it changed.
Okay, well, I mean, so to just elaborate for a bit on what I said about my initial hatred of this movie, I watched it 20 years ago. Wow. And by the way, this movie is 30 years old now.
Good heavens.
There's a raft of 80s nostalgia happening, because obviously every year something from the 80s is 30 years old.
Comes back.
And
just when you thought the 80s were dead.
Yeah.
The poll tax.
No, they don't die. But I think it's... Obviously, the fuss around Halloween now is it's the 40th anniversary, and the new film is the 40th anniversary sequel. 40 years, 40 years, 40 years. But it is 30 years since Halloween 4, and I guess Halloween 4 is a nostalgic memory for a lot of people of a certain generation. And it wasn't really for me, because I discovered it on... basically, in 1998, I think I'd seen Halloween 1, 2 and 3, as I explained in the earlier episodes, and I decided that I didn't want to watch all the others because I knew they were terrible, or I'd been told they were terrible, or read they were terrible. But at the same time, every time I watched one, I kind of wanted to see the next one.
Where the story goes.
And then the news came through that the 20th anniversary sequel, Halloween H2O, as we call it in Britain, whether anyone in the production company ever intended it to be called H2O, because that's a stupid name, I don't know, but it was coming out. So I thought, well, now's the time to watch all the other sequels and get them out of the way. And Halloween 4 was on Sky TV one night. And when I first saw this movie, I was kind of cautiously hopeful. I was hoping that it might be more like the original than Halloween 2 was. And in some ways, I think you could argue it is. But it's also less well made, and that was the thing that kind of mainly hit me at the time, that it was most of the production finesse that I enjoyed about Halloween and Halloween 2 had just kind of gone. So I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest. And I was kind of aware that Donald Pleasence was looking particularly old in it, that he had a cowpat on his face that was supposed to
fried egg.
Yes. And that he didn't seem that enthusiastic. Some of the performances I did like, but I didn't watch the whole film again for 20 years because of the hoopla going on now, and because of becoming aware of the fact that so many people have a nostalgic place for these movies. I wanted to watch it again and kind of reassess it, and I did watch it again and I enjoyed it, actually. I think it's quite a charming film in some ways.
10 years ago, on the night of October 31st, a small Midwestern town fell victim to an escaped killer. Under the cover of darkness, he carried out the most horrifying mass murder on record. 16 people in cold blood. Ever since that night, no one has forgotten his name. And Halloween has never been the same. Now, Michael Myers has come home. He has returned for one more night of unholy terror.
Michael! Somebody help me!
He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way.
Oh, God!
Who's gonna be next?
Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers.
Maybe nobody knows how to stop him.
So let's talk a little bit about why the movie was made and where the franchise was up to at that time. So basically, we'd just come off the back of Halloween 3, or rather 6 years before Halloween 4 came out. Halloween 3 came out, and as we discussed last time, was perceived as a failure, although it did make money. And it had been a radical departure from the series. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill saying, no, we don't want to do Michael Myers, we don't want to do a traditional sequel. It was considered a failure. So the other financiers of the Halloween property had the leverage to say, actually, we think we should have Michael Myers back. And first, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were willing to go along with this to some extent. As you may know if you've seen this 25 Years of Terror documentary, Dennis Etchison, who had written the novelisations of Halloween 2 and 3 under the name Jack Martin, was commissioned by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill to write a draft script that would somehow bring Michael Myers back. And it sounds really interesting. Do either of you heard about this?
Not really. No, I know he had a part in the Halloween 2. Obviously, he wrote it. He wasn't part of the. Did he do the music as well in Halloween 2?
Yeah, he did music for 2 and 3. Yeah.
2 and 3. That's right. Yeah. But no, I don't think I've heard of this iteration.
Well, I did see that documentary, so I do know. I do remember them talking about that there was somebody called Dennis Etchison.
Yes.
Who had written the.
Oh wait a second. Is this the one where it was more of a? It was more of a not physical threat, more of a kind of ghost-like
something
spectre.
Yeah,
the evil presence of Michael, as opposed to.
I don't really know how the script would have expressed it. I haven't read that script, but yeah, apparently it was kind of all about the idea that because of what happened in 1978, Halloween is banned in Haddonfield. But Dennis Etchison described his script as kind of a return of the repressed thing, like when you try and repress something, it comes back in unexpected ways. So somehow, by kind of banning reference to Michael Myers and what had happened, this actually brought him back. It sounds like quite an interesting idea to me. I think it might have been something, if it had been good, if it had been done well, it might have been something like Candyman, I think.
Yeah, so more like a kind of urban legend kind of thing. That's interesting.
And yeah, I think that would have been an interesting road to go down, but Apparently, it wasn't a literal enough return of Michael Myers for Mustafa Akkad, who basically bought out John Carpenter and Deborah Hill's share in the property, and Deborah Hill had to apologise to Dennis Etchison, saying that, your script has been thrown away. They're not interested in it, and then so all those three people were no longer involved in production. Akkad took sole control of it and commissioned a series of writers to create what would be Halloween 4.
Newest.
But they had a very short time to do it because there was a writer's strike in 1988. The weird credit on the movie that I don't quite know the background of is something like story by Benjamin Ratner and Larry Ruffner and Darnie Lipsus and Alan B. McElroy.
Wow.
Screenplay by
Hey.
Well, the weird thing is I've read most of the first draft that Alan B. McElroy wrote, and it does not mention any other names on it.
No.
And it sounds like he just came up with it in a few days because of the deadline with the writer's strike.
It's probably like a pitch, Would they just? I'm not sure, like the story, how the story credit works. They just is it like an outline of the basic plot, or?
Sometimes it's that they've written an earlier draft,
right?
And the draft has been rewritten so much that
they've had to put story by as opposed to screenplay.
Some of their ideas are in it.
Yeah,
the ideas, basically only the ideas remain.
Right.
And there's some kind of Writers Guild ruling, I think, certainly in terms of the Directors Guild, in order to be credited with a movie, if there's more than one person directing it, you've got to have done at least 70% of it to get credited. So usually the Writers Guild kind of rulings come to bear on these things, and they kind of rule who should be credited in what way. I don't know how that happened on this one, but I do know that McElroy, who is still working writer and is the creator of possibly your favourite franchise, Howard, Wrong Turn.
Oh yes, I do love Wrong Turn. And the thing about those films, everyone is better than the previous one. It just gets better. I don't know how they do it. The writing, the acting, the direction. It's just absolutely marvellous.
I sense a little sarcasm in your voice there.
Do you?
I mean, murderous hillbillies, inbred hillbillies, not your cup of tea.
Well, the first one was all right.
The first one is the one that McElroy wrote. He had nothing to do with the other movies in the series. And yeah, I think the first one is entertaining. I only watched it the other week as kind of research for this, really, to just get an idea of what he's like. And it's a straightforward, simple story. Quite fun, I think. And I think so is Halloween 4. You can see there's quite a linear thing to it.
Yeah, it's I think structurally quite strong, and I think the unique thing is that I feel like it does capture that initial feel of the first film. It does. You have the kind of he's coming, the escape and all that. But I feel with this one they shifted it a little bit more into more of an action genre.
Well, I was just thinking, it was interesting this film came out in 1988 because that was the time of the action film. That was the time of Die Hard, when Schwarzenegger was ruling the roost and Predator and all that. And this kind of film reminded me a bit in that there's a lot of action in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of car chases and explosions and fights and gunfire and everything. And so it's kind of a bit like an action film sometimes, if they're trying to appeal to that audience as well. And that's why, because if you think about Halloween is a very quiet film. There's not much action.
No, it's just a lot of... for lack of a better word, Halloween is boring.
Yeah.
It's not, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's boring because not much happens. But that's the building of the tension. That's why it's such an interesting and it's so engrossing. Is that you're like, oh, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
that's what's so great about it. It's
popping out the hedge. Hello there. And then pops back. But it holds you in such a way that it's not boring.
No.
But if you, that's.
But not a lot happens. It's a very simple story. Yeah. Not a lot happens.
Exactly. And just really the most of the action happens in the last 10, 15 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
And there's very few killings. So many killings.
It's all tension, and therefore if you watch it and you don't feel the tension, which obviously some people don't, it doesn't work for everyone, then you go, what the hell is this film? It's pointless.
Well, I think we said on that first Halloween podcast that we were saying that Carpenter went with a cut of the film without the music, and they said, "Oh, this is awful. This is the worst film I've ever seen." And then he comes back and goes, "Give me a couple of days."
The music,
and that makes it. And that really does. It's it makes the film hold up even more. But I could see the producer's issue with it, because it would seem dull or boring. But again, it's not, because it's a very well constructed film.
Sure. No, I absolutely agree with you. Let's not harp on about Halloween.
No. Stop there.
Several.
It is good though. It is good. It's very good.
Pretty good.
I think we did talk about it, but it's still very good.
I think people should watch it. Actually, and you might enjoy it.
You should do a commentary track. That's what we should do. We should do a commentary track for it while they watch it, so they don't have to hear all the dialogue. We can do the dialogue and make it better.
We can easily do that.
But it starts kind of with a crashing ambulance. It gets into an ambulance, and that crashes. Then there's an exploding petrol station, and then at the end there's all the guys on the truck, and they all get thrown off.
Yeah.
And those sort of things. There's a lot more action going on, and sort of.
I don't know how those people on the truck managed to not notice him.
I don't think they're very bright.
First guy goes off and he's like, "Yeah!" Like Wilhelm scream, and then the other guy's just like, "I wonder what that was," and then he goes.
Well, we'll deal with the ending of the film when we get there.
Sorry.
I think there's a specific important precedent for this movie, I think, in terms of 80s action, as you're referring to, Howard, and it's Aliens.
I was going to mention that, actually, yeah.
And down to the fact that the kind of protagonist in it is a little girl.
Yes.
So I think basically, actually, if you sum up Alan B. McElroy's script and basically say it's the first one, but with a bit more like Aliens, because Aliens had come out and shown that you can take a horror movie and sort of turn it into an action movie and it will work.
Yeah.
And also the use of the little girl protagonist gives you a similar but different kind of flavour than when the characters are all adults, and also a different way to create tension and a different way to create peril. So I think that was definitely added in. I also kind of noted that the Halloween 4 script is very, very strongly based on the template of the script from Halloween. The structure, as you said, it is well structured. It's the structure of Halloween.
Exactly.
It starts off with the escape from the asylum. Obviously, you then go to Haddonfield. You meet the kind of positive characters of the film. And spend quite a lot of time with them during daylight. The start of Halloween, the day.
It is very similar. He escapes. People are aware of it. He escapes. Loomis. He's like, "How could you let him escape? He's evil. He's evil."
He does the kind of cross-cutting thing, which is between Haddonfield, where you're getting to know the new characters, and also you're cutting to Loomis on his journey to Haddonfield.
Michael goes back to the house.
There's the scene where you find out how Michael gets his boiler suit. I mean, I know that it's a bit more elaborate because the garage blows up and that.
Yeah.
But
you get that lovely like Jaws shot, don't you?
Yes.
Loomis sees him.
That's one of. There are a number of points where the director Dwight H. Little shows a bit of flair for that kind of thing, and that's certainly one of them. There's also the bit. Very similar to the moment in the first film where the three girls are walking along and Michael Myers drives past and she shouts, "Hey jerk, speed kills." There's a bit where they're in a car and he comes past in the mechanic's truck, I think that he stole from the garage, and there's some kind of moment of tension there. He's following them or something. There's kind of recurrent moments kind of all the way through.
He also likes to murder canines a lot, because that happens again. So he's not a dog person, Michael. I don't think much. But he does throttle or break the dog's neck. Can't remember.
Also, just the structure of the cast. There's three young. If you include the young girl played by Danielle Harris, who's called Jamie Lloyd, named after Jamie Lee Curtis. There's three girls, but if you don't include her because her age changes her role a little bit, there are still three teenage characters who are heroes, but this time it's two girls and a boy, and there's kind of a love triangle going on. There's even,
I remember.
He even repeats the fact that one of the girls is the daughter of the sheriff.
And the sheriff is dumb, of course.
It's
The sheriff's always dumb.
Kathleen Kinmont, I believe.
Yes, who's very good, I think.
Yes, very, very talented. I've also seen her in a few softcore pornographic.
Really? Is she?
Yes, yes.
Is that what she's doing now?
It was in my youth on Channel 5. They used to show a lot of those late at night, so I would make sure everyone was asleep and partake in my erotic thriller phase. But yeah,
I mean,
no, she's great. She's great. She's not got much to do in this though.
No, she's good. She's got quite a distinctive name, so if I had seen her anything else, I would have thought I would have remembered. But no.
Check out your erotic thrillers.
Right, okay. I shall.
We could do a podcast on those.
Your extensive collection.
I do have a certain amount of knowledge, you know.
Don't we all?
I used to have an Andrew Stevens Productions library, essentially. So basically, I think if they could have done, they would have just made Halloween 1 again. You know, they would have imitated it totally.
Yeah.
I think that's what Mustafa Akkad wanted, and the director says that's what he wanted, and they aimed to make it not very violent in the way that the original was. But they were frustrated by two things. One of them was the fact that Halloween 2 existed, and they had to kind of include continuity elements from that. So even though they were saying Dr. Loomis was not dead, they had to kind of acknowledge that he'd been burned.
Yeah.
So he has that burn on his face. There's a few other things from Halloween 2 in there. Well, I mean, there's basically a whole recap of
there is
everything.
At the beginning, they do all the burning and the explosion and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And also then there's the fact that apparently the test screening of the movie, feedback came back that it wasn't violent enough, so they had to reshoot extra gore.
Oh, people!
That seems to happen a lot in this franchise.
Yeah.
I think it's the same, and it's either too violent or not violent enough. Either way, no one can find the middle ground. I think there's the scene where he's in the garage, isn't there, and he's getting the boiler suit, I believe, off the guy from the garage, and he has a crowbar or something. I think originally he was supposed to see the crowbar go into the guy's face, but you just get the shot of it coming down,
right,
and a kind of sound effect.
I think they did want to do kind of more explicit violence, but they were limited by their budget.
Exactly,
and I think if you watch the making of documentary, John Carl Bickler, who is commissioned to add in the gory bits, like for instance at the start of the film when Michael escapes from the asylum he's being transported in an ambulance, and he overpowers the two attendants who are with him. That scene's not in the script. Originally, the ambulance was just going to leave the asylum, and then you go to Haddonfield, and a few pages in the script later, you get they find the ambulance crashed, and he's obviously escaped. But they have to add the scene in where he kills them. And John Carl Bickler there's the kind of gory moment where Michael smashes a guy's head against the side of the ambulance, and then he pushes his thumb through the forehead, and apparently they just did that they had a fake hand with a thumb that squashed. So the fake hand just its thumb again. So obviously, they couldn't afford to do much in terms of adding in gore effects. Later on in the series, they'll be able to do more extensive things, for good or ill, on that level. So I want us to do a little activity now.
Oh, okay.
Because as I said, I did read most of the first draft of the script, which is very close to the final film, but there's a few key changes, and one of them specifically regards the security guard at the asylum at the start, played by an actor called Raymond O'Connor.
Oh, I like him.
He's one of my favourites.
He's good. He's very, almost very Brad Dourif-like, I think. A little bit.
Yes. Well, I mean, he originally had I guess Alan McElroy wrote more kind of naturalistic speeches for him, but then someone up on the production obviously decided that no, we need a character who can sum up the events of the previous films in case audience members have not seen them. So one set of speeches went out and another one come in. So what I'd like to do is I'll ask each of you to read one of the alternative Raymond O'Connor speeches.
Yeah.
Who would like to read the original speech that he was going to deliver, which is at the start of the film. We're at It's funny. It's not the asylum from the original Halloween, which was
No.
Smith's Grove. It's a
Yeah.
different asylum, and people are coming from Smith's Grove to pick up Michael to transfer him back to Smith's Grove for some reason.
Yeah.
So basically, this ambulance arrives and these two attendants come in, and a security guard shows them to Michael's cell so that they can transfer him. And while he's taking them down in the lift, he gets to chat to them. And in the original version of the script, this is what he says. Who wants to do the original?
Well, I think our special guest.
Thank you. I'll take. I was going to let you decide.
No,
Howard.
you can decide because.
I'll take that first one then. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the speech. So basically, they come out of the lift and they walk. It's a bit like Silence of the Lambs. They're walking down the corridor with all the inmates on either side, and he gives them a little spiel about them.
Okay.
So,
I'll give it a go. I'll give it my best try.
remember, dear listeners, Dan has never seen this before, so he's just giving this.
Bear with
speech
me.
a go.
I'll see what I can do. They're here, aren't they? Over there, we got a man used to pick up hitchhikers, take their picture, bath them, cut them up, and bake them in a stew pot. Left side, we got a woman does everything in threes, buried 3 husbands and 3 children. Next to her is an obstetrician. He murdered every 9th child he delivered, then stole their bodies and kept them in a huge nursery in his basement. We even have a 10-year-old who had his family for Christmas dinner. Took the leftovers to school, handed them out as sandwiches to his friends.
People like that ought to be locked up.
That was my obstetrician. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's right.
Obstetrician.
Yeah.
That was lucky guess.
Very good. That's been good.
That was
we'll let you
fantastic,
know.
Dan.
And
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan is available for bar mitzvahs.
For all acting, for all lists of murderous people in an asylum.
It was maybe a little bit New York.
Maybe not Haddonfieldy enough, but it was. I don't know. That's how I remembered him from the film.
Thank you very much, Dan. That was
Thank you.
marvellous.
It was just it's what I do. It's what I do.
So that, as it sounds, that's kind of a speech that an actor can kind of have fun with. I think.
Yeah. So,
But then obviously it was decided, no, actually we just need it to be information.
yeah.
that the
We just
audience
need
needs.
to exposition.
And
Please.
that was changed. So Howard, do you want to read the?
Yeah.
You can have the less fun one now.
I could be Raymond O'Connor. Is it just that way then?
Yes, so basically, in the film as it is, they don't go down the corridor. They just go down the lift, and he talks to them while they're in the lift. So.
Okay. Yeah, the one you're picking up, just thinking about him gives me the willies. Yeah, a decade ago, Halloween night, he murdered 16 people, maybe more, trying to get to his sister. Nearly got her too. But his doctor, of all people, shot him 6 times. Then he set him on fire. Both of them nearly burned to death. Yeah, I'll be glad to see this one gone. Yes, indeedy.
Yes.
That was New York. I never just seemed to slip into New York.
Just New Yorkers.
All asylum
I came all the way to Haddonfield. This is where I decided I want to live here. New York's too violent. I want to live in Haddonfield.
Nice people.
Crime rate New York will kill.
You know what? Jason took Manhattan for about 30 minutes, so I thought I'd come here.
Very nice, Howard. So basically, we got 2 alternative New Yorkie takes on that speech. So, do we feel that the second version of the speech was written by Alan McElroy, or perhaps by a production assistant after the writer's strike had begun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or probably the actor himself.
I think the first one's better.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting.
It does make me think of, like you said, like Silence of the Lambs, or even a Jacob's Ladder. Reminds me of that sort of thing. And it's a bit more, it conjures up more kind of images. But the other one is very much like, if they felt it was needed, they felt it was needed. But
well, was it needed though? I mean, so if you go to see a Halloween film, don't you have some knowledge of the previous ones?
Also, is it really essential to just say the information?
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, he nearly burned to death.
Yeah.
You can see he's got burns all over his
covered in
hand.
bandages.
Then there's a scene with Dr. Loomis a few minutes later where he goes, "Can't you see my face? I never forget that night when I was nearly burned to death." You know, it's like they lay it on.
Yeah.
I think they were probably they could have, if they could have been bothered, found more effective ways, more subtle ways of conveying that information than just have some.
Then again, you could do it the opposite way and just be very subtle and not give out that much information. They go, and just be a bit more cryptic about it, and people go, ooh, well, I am watching Halloween 4, so maybe I should go back and find out all this information and watch 1, 2 and 3. What, 3's not got him in? What's going on? I'm confused.
Yeah, well, that happens.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the story is so simple. For Halloween 1 and 2, and I would argue for this one as well, we talked in the previous podcast about the way, you could sum up the story in one line. That Halliwell's line about a mad killer escaped from the asylum in a small Illinois town. That's also the plot of this film.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You don't need that much
Kind of the
detail.
plot of all of them.
Well, I don't know, when we get there. We might have some weird tangents a bit later on. But, so... And I think it's worth pointing out again that, that speech is not in the original script, and all that information was doled out in Alan McElroy's original draft, just as scenes came up. I mean, you've got a character, and one of your main characters is the daughter of... supposedly the daughter of Laurie, the lead from the previous films. She is there to point out her family relationship. You don't have to have a character saying, he killed all these people trying to get to his sister. And every time I saw Raymond O'Connor, bless his heart, delivering that speech, I just thought, that's awful. Could any actor make that sound good? I think you did a good attempt.
Yeah, that was great. That was good.
But I'm not sure it's
possible.
But
it is heavy-handed exposition, isn't it? I mean, that's what it is.
But I think there's ways of doing that without doing that so soon and so heavy-handed and so, ham-fisted is probably a better term.
The fact that it's just a speech that he says to them and they don't say anything back.
Yeah.
It's not even question and answer.
No. It's like, tell me more about him. Or, it's like...
Will you please stop talking?
I just talked. I don't see many sane people. I'm just gonna talk at you. I think he's one of the inmates. He's just put on the guard outfit.
He does have the maddest eyes in the movie. Perhaps.
Oh yes,
the maddest eyes.
The darkest eyes.
Marvelous. Okay, so that's the movie. That's what we got. Obviously, in their intention to sequelize the Michael Myers story and to bring it back to its roots, they wanted to include Jamie Lee Curtis. But by this point, she was a proper bona fide movie star. She had been in big comedies and all
Trading Places, Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah, Fish Called Wonder, I think, was the same year, wasn't it? But yeah, basically she had better things to do, and I don't think they could afford her.
No, I don't think they could afford her then. No.
Halloween 4's budget, by the way, was $5 million, which is more than the other films had, but small, and also it's late 80s, recession and things like that. I don't know how it really affected the American economy, but obviously we were struggling in Britain a bit, and certainly I know that kind of the whole relationship where big American movies for a while were just kind of habitually made in England. That was basically
like Pinewood. Yeah,
it worked out cheaper to the American producers.
It's like is the tax reasons, or is it with currency and
we
exchange
used
rate?
to have a thing called the ED levy, which was basically a tax break for filmmakers. But I think all that situation started to change and it became much more expensive. This is one of the reasons why the third Alien film was a really expensive, kind of disastrous production, because it was made in England, but it was in production so long that it started being made in England when the economy was favourable. But before it finished, the situation had turned, and everything they were just kind of leaking dollars. So they couldn't afford Jamie Lee Curtis, so they've just written her out, and they've said she's died off screen. In a car crash, apparently, a few years after the events of Halloween 2, I suppose. And her daughter, she had a very young daughter at the time who's now being raised by a foster family. This daughter is, in the script, she's not called Jamie. Somebody obviously decided, no, we'll call her Jamie as a nod to Jamie Lee Curtis. And she's living with this family, the Lloyds. No, the family's not called the Lloyds, it's called the Carruthers.
But she's known as Lloyd.
She's Lloyd because obviously that's
the married name of the partner, right?
So Laurie Lloyd, poor lass.
Laurie Lloyd.
Yeah.
Good old LL.
So Jamie
Cool
Lloyd
J.
is now living with the Carruthers, and in the next scene after the escape of Michael, we get to meet her, be comforted by her older foster sister. Rachel, played by Ellie Cornell. Howard, I think you're quite a fan of Ellie Cornell.
Is it that obvious? Yeah, no, I think she's great. I mean, you need kind of like an engaging heroine. Well, I think there are two very fine performances in this. I think Ellie Cornell's a really kind of appealing heroine, and she's really good. And I think Danielle Harris is a quite remarkable child actress.
Yeah,
she really
what she does is just, you know, you kind of, maybe if you'd seen this film at the time, you might have thought she was going to be big and really go somewhere. But she's does a lot of horror films now. She's kind of like a screen queen now. But yeah, they're both. I think I like Ellie Cornell. Yes, she's good.
Those two performances are terrific. I think, and
I think they carry the film. I think.
Yeah. Oh no, they really do. And I watched it, and I find myself, because of those performances are so vivid, you actually care about the love triangle stuff with the character Brady, played by Sasha Jensen.
Yeah,
he's sort of Ellie's boyfriend, but
he's a bit of a toxic male, isn't he?
Halloween films, slasher films in general, are not very flattering about American youth. No. They are, most of them, kind of horny and gormless. Yeah. And not very sort of attractive people. That still
sounds kind of like English youth as well.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's like English youth, but without as many guns.
It's most of the kind of like...
Yeah, like trashy, kind of like, I just want to have sex with the next hottest girl.
And get stoned.
Yeah, let's get high, man.
But the heroine isn't like that. The heroine of course, like Jamie Lee Curtis. She's nice and kind and...
You identify with her a lot.
Resourceful. And
however, like, she is a badass in this. She fights back. Yeah. You know, she's always in a, you know, almost always in a state of kind of panic about the situation. However, she has this calm resolve. And like when she's speaking to Jamie, she's, you know, like a lot of people would be like, it's okay, it's all going to be all right, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. She's like, get in the damn car, you know, and just she's like, we've got to escape this, we've got to climb off this roof, you know, go down the thing, I'll protect you. Like she's having a go at her to protect her, and I think as a parental protective figure with children, it's not always like like everything's gonna be fine, nothing's wrong, there's not a serial killer after us, so just imagining that's fine. But she was like, no, he's gonna murder us. Yeah. Get down the house, climb down that thing, she's run. And that's I really dug that, and it was she's
terrific.
So strong in it, so strong, and I you know, she did, like I said, she carried the film and she kept my attention and throughout it. You know,
I feel like she could have been a new star. Not just for the franchise, but in general. She's got great presence. She's just enough like Jamie Lee Curtis, or at least she embodies similar qualities without feeling like a rip-off of the character, I think. And I was very fond of her, and if it was not a slasher movie, but it was just a teen drama about Ellie Cornell's boyfriend, probably.
A Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, I think I'd still enjoy it because.
But the interesting thing is that she has a boyfriend. See, it's in Halloween. There is the idea that it's the girls who have sex and get killed, and the one who doesn't.
The Virginials.
Stays alive for some kind of puritanical reason that. People have sex and can be punished. Whereas in this film, Ellie Cornell's character, she does have a boyfriend, and presumably they've.
Well, I mean, I think that's because, firstly, you know, as we discussed before, that whole kind of moralistic reading of the plot of the first Halloween film is something that other people have put onto it.
Yes,
it's become a trope in itself when it wasn't meant to be.
But also, your virginal, innocent character in this movie is Jamie.
Yes.
You know, she's 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, she can represent that.
Yeah, true.
It's okay for the adult lead to be a bit more complex.
I do quite like how bratty she is at the start, because there's that opening scene with the family, like, the babysitter's cancelled on us, you're gonna have to babysit. And she's like, I want to go out with my boyfriend. I want to go and do things with him. I do quite like that she has that. She doesn't just stay bratty. She's not instantly the badass. It does grow throughout the film. She does have a really.
And she's bullied. It's
strong. As well. Speaking of bullying,
you mean Jamie's bullied?
Jamie's bullied.
Rachel's character's arc's really good, but Jamie's bullied. Those kids are like you forget how bad kids are.
The scenes of bullying in this film are probably more heartrending than the ones in Halloween, I think.
Because they're like, they're really just...
Jamie's an orphan.
It's horrible, it is horrible, actually.
I did quite like the reference to the cartoon Mask. One of the kids is dressed as one of the characters from Mask, the cartoon.
Right,
It's kind of like a G.I. Joe meets Transformers thing back in the day. But they're awful. Like, and we've all been at school, primary school, and kids are cruel, hideous.
I certainly was.
Monsters,
No.
Still is now. We hope you grow out of it now, Howard.
No.
The second we turn the microphone on this nice persona. But before, oh my God, you had me in tears in the corner of the room. But yeah, they are hideous kids. Like, but I guess that's the point. It's trying to, but like, it's almost unrealistically like over the top in a way. But it kind of,
but it gives a bit of context. It gives it a bit of detail, and it just makes it a bit more believable.
Yeah, true. No, it's true, but
but yeah,
it sets
up the characters.
Yeah, it's believable, and then it's kind of like I'm also like I'm on the borderline with it. That kids are bloody awful. But I think it does help that she has had a good life, she has had a good upbringing, but she does have that one strong female figure in her life, which is Rachel, and she's always there, even if she's like, I wish you weren't here because I want to go out with my boyfriend. But again, by the end of the film, she's like, don't ever go anywhere.
Well, no, it's not just the fact that it's a little girl, but it's the kind. I know that Rachel's not her mother.
No,
but it's the strong, almost parental link. With the older woman as the protector. I always think one of the great things about Aliens, which is, full disclosure, my favourite film.
I can see why. It's a classic.
I love it. But that poster is so good. It's just such a strong image, which is Sigourney Weaver standing there with a little girl on one arm, kind of hugging her, and a huge gun. It's just like, do not mess with this mother.
That's what I love. I'm sure we could do a podcast on that film, but that's what it is. That's what that whole film is about. Mothers, I think. Sure, there's some Marines and aliens in it, but really it's about the mothering nature and being a mother. And
no, you're speaking my language. Yeah, definitely. So we're talking about kind of the familiar relationships there, and I was also mentioning earlier that within this movie they really want to recreate Halloween, but they're hamstrung by elements from Halloween 2. And of course, the main thing from Halloween 2 is the plot thing that's come over that Michael Myers kills his family. So therefore, Jamie knows this. That's another... it's a smart decision in the script to make Rachel so... honest and pragmatic with Jamie, because basically Jamie already knows
so why
her
hide
family
it?
history. She's a little girl with an old head essentially, but it does create this
that's a very creepy image you've just put in your head.
Nice. Maybe that's a movie to do.
Old head.
Oh my God.
My youthful body.
Oh dear. I think you've broken that.
Sorry.
Okay. So
I tend to do that. You'll stop inviting me soon.
Not at all. But my point, I think it changes the nature of the film's suspense a little bit, because from the start that if Michael Myers, that Michael Myers is coming back for his family. Yeah. Whereas in Halloween, you kind of know he's there, but you don't really know what he's doing, so the suspense is of a different nature. Do we think that it still kind of works as a suspenseful film? I think maybe this is the reason why Halloween 4 is a bit more action-packed. Yeah. Because if you know what the baddie is trying to do and who needs to be protected and things, it kind of becomes almost more about the set-piece confrontation.
Yeah, well, this is the thing about all these sort of films. The more you know about Michael Myers, the less interesting and the less frightening he is. In that first film, he is that mysterious, ambiguous, blank, inexplicable. We don't know why he's doing the things he's doing. He's called the Shape. His credit's called the Shape. Is he playing with these people, messing with them? Is he sort of trying to humiliate them? Whatever. I mean, and Kim Newman said on that, which I think I mentioned last time, that it's not really about the killing. Michael's not really about the killing. He's about messing with these people, and the killing is just like the end of the joke kind of thing. Once you sort of like
punchline,
play with them, then you can just kill them. And as the series has gone on, kind of Michael becomes more sadistic, and it's more about
I think
finding ingenious ways to kill people, or bizarre ways to kill people.
I think that element of playing pranks almost is one thing that's completely absent from this movie.
Oh,
isn't
definitely,
it?
yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes, for me, the first film so successful.
It's a bit more. I think in 5 there's a bit more of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I do agree with you on it does take away from the supernatural, the kind of spectral unknown the shape. It takes away from the shake, but it does give.
Did you just call him the Shake?
The Shake. The Shake.
He's got Parkinson's disease.
or he's a very wise man from Arabia.
Or he's a very tasty milk beverage.
All three, possibly.
Who knows? We don't know in that first film. We don't know what he is. The shape. But I you know what? I don't hate. Like it takes away something from the shape, but I think it gives something to Michael Myers. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't. I just think it becomes a bit slightly more mechanical when you know what he's going to do.
Yeah, predictable.
And he's not doing the same thing. He's not sort of playing with them, messing with them, taunting them, playing pranks on them. He just appears and kills. Yeah. If he appears, you know that whoever he's with at that time is going to get killed. And there's no kind of tension about that.
I was very conscious of that when I first saw this film, and I think that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah,
But I think it does very well. You see, the things about sequels are they do kind of have to happen within limits.
Yes.
The audience expects certain things.
Yeah,
and the audience come to see this and want to see Michael Myers killing people. So you have to give them Michael Myers killing people, and that's fine. It's just that you know who he is now and kind of what he is and why he's doing it and everything. And so the other elements kind of have to sort of compensate for that in a way. You have to, and in this film they do. I think, like you say, Eddie Cornell's really good, and Daniel Harris is really good, and the other characters, and Donald Pleasance I think is on form here. So you don't really notice perhaps as much in some of the other ones that Michael Myers is
would you say he's more
the same routine?
Yeah, would you say he's kind of more like a plot device or
it's
a
just
catalyst?
Kind of, he just has to be there doing that kind of thing.
He's going to do that thing around these other
whatever else is happening in the story. At some point, you've got to go back to Michael Myers killing somebody in a rather gruesome way. Although this film isn't that gruesome. It's not.
No, not really.
My God, compared to things now, it's positively tame, and even at the time, I don't think it's.
No, it's fine. I think. But it does develop a modus operandi that basically whenever Michael meets someone, he kills them.
Yes.
I think so. Therefore, you basically that's the routine. And you get used to that. But while we're on the subject of talking about Michael Stroke the Shape, what do we think of him in this movie, as in how he looks? And he's played by an actor who's a stuntman called George P. Wilbur. Originally, they cast someone else, but who was replaced partway through the shooting. George P. Wilbur, I suggest, does not have the best build for this role.
Well, mind you, it all comes down to the mask. I mean, doesn't it say on that documentary that they got the mask wrong?
They didn't have blonde hair.
His hair sticking out. He doesn't look right in this. Well, if you haven't seen the other films, and this is the first one, then you don't know he doesn't look right. But if you have seen them, there's something really weird about.
Well, it's strange that the kind of hallmark of the mask is that it's kind of a blank face, but this one is too blank. It's like that it
doesn't fit properly. It doesn't look like it fits properly either. It looks like his head is too big or something.
It's almost just a plain white. There's no kind of texture to it or anything. It is just a white face. There's no character to it.
And I kind of feel like the director throughout the movie is kind of attempting to create this psychological thriller kind of edge.
Yeah.
Strange dream sequences. Jamie gets glimpses of things that then turn out not to be that. And the fact that Michael Myers is a big, bulky guy with a pretty shoddy mask on kind of undercuts that constantly, unfortunately, I think.
That opening dream, I actually didn't realise it was a dream at one point. I was like, when could Michael teleport? Because he's on one side of the room, and then he's behind the door she's trying to get out of, and I was like, and then she wakes up, and I'm like, oh, it was a dream. I was just like, why didn't I realise that was a bloody dream? I was like having a slow moment.
But I mean, that's quite a nice piece of writing to create a dream sequence that creates a set piece, but also gives you information about the characters that does go on to be relevant.
One of my favourite scenes in it is the opening one with Loomis, and he's talking to the doctor at the asylum, and he's like, you're not fit to be a psychiatrist. You shouldn't.
Yeah, that's the guy called.
And I was,
Michael Pataki.
That's right.
Patakai. however you say it.
Tacky?
Now, he has been in a lot of horror films. He's in Graduation Day, and I think he's in one of the Friday the 13th. And he's not one who talks like this. He's got a really gravelly voice.
He's in Rocky 4.
He's done other stuff as well.
He's the Russian trainer guy.
Yes,
in Rocky
he
4.
is. Yeah, you're right.
But he has done a lot of horror stuff and done a lot of slasher stuff as well.
And I think he had a semi-regular thing in Star Trek as one of the Klingons as well.
Well, he'd be good as the Klingon.
No.
But
he
points out how poor a psychiatrist he is, as in like you believe that he's evil. You haven't tried to heal him. You've just tried to lock him away. And they were like, I told you this would happen. I told you. And he's like, yeah. And then it's like, and then they found the ambulance and they're like, I was right. I'm always right.
Yeah, but it's like in all these films, the cops are always rubbish.
Yeah.
The other doctors, psychiatrists are always
No, well,
rubbish.
nobody ever listens in these films, do they?
it's
I always think of Superman because he's always like, Jor-El, our planets will never explode. What are you talking about? Don't be silly. And they're like, it will. Just listen. It's going to. I've got all this scientific information, all this research. Shut up. Oh, it's exploding. Sorry, Jor-El, we didn't listen.
But it's good because he's actually voicing some of the criticisms of Loomis that we were talking about the other week in
Exactly,
at Halloween 2. So yeah,
Worst psychiatrist in the world.
And he's got a great voice, and he's a good person to add into the movie. This is a good point then to just talk about the cast in general, and I suppose we should start with Donald Pleasence.
Well, Donald Pleasence. I want to mention one of my favourite scenes in this film. One of my favourite scenes in all Halloween films is after there's been a scene at the petrol station which is all exploded, and Michael has stolen Loomis's car, and so Donald Pleasence is trying to get a lift. And these idiot teenagers stop, and then they drive off. And then this wonderful guy is in a truck, and he stops. And it's played by an actor called Carmen Philby, who was in Ed Wood, briefly.
Oh,
so, and Ed Wood, I love Ed, it's one of my favourite films.
Who did he play in Ed Wood?
He plays the guy showing the stock footage to Johnny Depp.
Oh, okay.
He's only got about 3-4 lines.
Right.
Look at this, Ed.
He's also in The Wedding Singer, the Adam Sandler movie.
I had a look at him. He's always crusty old man.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So, old man, crusty old man, bad-tempered old man. But anyway, there's this scene, and he stops going, get in, I'll give you a lift. And this old guy starts saying, you're looking for, ain't you? You're looking for him, I can see you're looking for him. Apocalypse, Armageddon, the end of the world, yeah. You're a fellow pilgrim.
I think it's important to point out he's not just an old guy, he's clearly a preacher.
Yeah, he's a preacher, yes. And he's got a big chin. His kind of chin meets his nose.
Yeah.
And then he starts, let's all gather at the rib. And it's a brilliant scene because it's got nothing to do. That guy doesn't appear again, he doesn't get killed later on. And it's the only time, I think, or one of the very few times in the whole series where you see Dr. Loomis smile. And look happy and look like he's enjoying himself. Which is good. But there's also the idea that Loomis is not the only person hunting down evil. There's others. There are other Michael Myers in the world. And there's other people searching for them. And this guy's one of them. We don't know anything about him, where he's come from, what he's going to do. But he's just, he said, I've spent my whole life like trying to hunt down evil and Armageddon and all this sort of thing. I'm a fellow pilgrim. It shows blue suede shoes or something. So, and I think that's really good because it's just a lovely little character moment, a little detail. Doesn't add anything to the story, but adds so much to the characters, adds so much to
I'm
the
so glad you brought up that scene because I'd almost forgotten that, and it was one of my favourite scenes in the film.
I guess it's a brilliant scene, and if there were kind of more of that in Halloween, in horror films generally, more of that just little character detail, I think would be better because it's just a nice little scene that whoever's written it, I don't know, this film's got 5 million writers, so I don't know which one of them wrote that scene, but it just adds to it, I think, and just makes Loomis a bit more human and makes him a bit more sympathetic.
That scene is in Alan McElroy's first draft.
Okay,
exactly.
That's it. My note was, I like it when Loomis makes a friend.
Because
he doesn't really have friends.
No, Loomis is sort of portrayed as being, even in the first film, a little bit mad or certainly obsessive. And we don't know anything about his private life when he's married, just have one presumably or anything. And he's always very serious, but it has to be because he's hunting down psychopathic murderers. But in this, he's just, this is good. I'm just having a lift and I can talk with this guy and just relax and just, and I just really love that moment. I think it adds so much.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons I like this film, when I watched it again recently for this, that's good. A bit of thought's gone into this, a little bit of care's gone into this, perhaps a bit more than some of the others. And certainly like Friday the 13th sequels, where we don't get anything like that. This is just a nice little thing. And you've got a good actor like great actor like Donald Pleasence. You need to give him something to do anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I think you can tell he's enjoying it.
Yeah.
I think it's funny how your attitude change over time, because I didn't like that scene when I saw it when I was 16 or whatever, and I could tell that that's what they were going for. Oh, it's a character moment. They're trying to soften the characters, but I just thought, but it's not very good though, is it? It's not very well acted or well written. I hate this film. Whereas now I do find it quite charming.
Yeah.
I think it's very charming. I think it's very...
I read an interview from 1988 from the set with Donald Pleasence where they asked him why he'd come back, and he gave a great quote, which was, "I was available, the money was good, and I think they'd struggle to make this film without me."
It is interesting kind of Pleasence's sort of roles in all the sequels, but even in the first film he doesn't do that much. It's really about Jamie Lee Curtis versus Michael Myers, and Loomis is just there just to let everybody know how terrible Michael Myers is, but he doesn't really do it.
He does more of the exposition. Really.
Yeah, he's the explaining, and he's sort of there, and he's a big name to sort of sell the film on. And in all the films, he's sort of like he's there, but he's not like the main one. And Ellie Cornell is the main one. Daniel Harris is the main one. He's just there to sort of keeps sort of appearing and sort of. But he's great. He's brilliant because he's a brilliant actor. But it's sort of like, and he is the star. It's Donald Pleasence in this film. But
he's very much in a supporting role.
Yeah, it's a support. It's a character part that he's.
But because of the more actiony nature of the film, I think he gets a bit more to do because he is following the cops around, shouting at them, kind of. Well, I mean, that's
he's there, but he's not sort of like
shouting at the one cop.
He also gets thrown through a wall at one point.
Is that the petrol station?
No,
I do remember him diving about.
He flies into some dustbin. I thought, did Donald Pleasence do that?
I'm absolutely sure he did.
And in the school
sequence
later on, Michael Myers suddenly appears and grabs him and throws him through
a
door.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, and he's out of it for a while.
Yeah, and you kind of think, is he dead? But then he does appear at the end.
I quite like the whole hillbilly kind of. Everyone they're like, Michael Myers is back. We're going to go kill him, protect our kids.
That's something else I like this film. The idea of how Michael Myers has affected this town.
Yeah.
And what the people like 20 years after it's happened. What are that? Well, they're all kind of gun-toed. Yeah. They're all, even after 20 years, they're all. The serial killer came and did all these terrible things, and we're all. Ever since then, we've all been sort of like heads up about it, and all kind of really trigger happy.
It feels like a small town, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the first one as well, like there is no response.
No,
really. There's one cop, Loomis, and that's it. So again, they want to kind of up the ante with the film in action terms as well. So that's why they get a group together. Let's lynch him. Let's go and lynch him. The sheriff. I think the sheriff's actually quite good in this.
I think he's great. Bo Starr, who's also in Goodfellas.
Yeah. Yes, of course. He is, isn't he?
He's terrific, I think, and I was really pleased. I enjoyed his performance when I first watched it, and I was pleased that he will be coming back in the following film.
Oh right, is he still going?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he does.
Oh no, sorry. I'm talking about Halloween 5. He comes.
Oh right, I thought he was going to be in the new one.
No, alas, he should.
One of my favourite bits from him is Rachel's boyfriend and Kathleen Kinmont's character are sleeping together and what have you. In the sheriff's house, it's like, you want me to sleep with you in the sheriff's house? And it's like, yeah, come on. And they're like, okay, and then have this very soft and soft focus kind of love scene in front of the fire, very erotic thriller as well.
The sheriffs always live as well. The sheriffs never get murdered.
That's an interesting point because in the first draft script he does die.
Really?
In the house, yeah.
Okay. I do like, and again, I like that. I like when they get back into the house, they're all kind of like, that's very Aliens as well. They all kind of they tool up and they secure the house, like make sure. But my favourite bit is when the sheriff's like, right, do you know, he just kind of, they walk in, they find, just the Kathleen Kinmont and the boyfriend. It's Brad. You said Bradley or Brady, sorry. So they're there. Sheriff doesn't take any notice. He's just like, right, we've got to lock these doors. We've got to secure the windows. We've got to get the guns. We've got to stock up, all that. And then he's like, hey Brady, do you know how to use one of these? He's like, yeah, sure, I can use a gun. And then just as a second thought, and just before Brady goes, he goes, touch my daughter again.
That's another little thing, isn't it? But it's also nice that Brady kind of becomes a hero at the end. He tries to stop him, and he's sort of been like
He's been the douchebag of the film.
Yeah, he has been sort of unsympathetic. He's been faithful to Rachel. We all love Rachel, so we all.
Yeah, exactly.
But then he sort of becomes a bit heroic, and that's kind of like a nice little thing. Again,
it's what they call these days a character arc.
Yeah. He's got his own arc.
Yeah.
An arc de triomphe.
So he gets his face crushed for doing it. But
it does, yeah. It does.
And again, the face crushing is not a special effect.
No, that was on the thing, wasn't it? So it's basically just going like that. You can't see that.
George C. Rubber just grabbed his face and tweaked his nose, and he went.
I just remembered Kathleen Kinmont's death in this. There's the rocking chair, isn't it, with the gun? He's got the gun. She's like, I thought you could use some coffee.
Yeah.
Puts the coffee down and then sees the dead deputy at the side and like, turns around. It's Michael, and he has a gun. And you would assume with a gun, there's one way to use that. I mean, one way to kill a living being with that. But no, Michael takes it one step further, shoves the gun into her, and then into the wall of the fireplace. Pinions to like the first film. He likes to do that. He likes to pin people to walls.
Yeah, but that's obviously the best item to pin a person to a wall. It's a 12-bore shot.
Yeah, and I mean. Like, it must have taken some feat of strength to do that.
It's not like you'd have anything else to do with the gun later. At any point.
No, or you could. I guess he likes it up close and personal.
Well, I think that's the thing about. I was reading about slasher film. The definition of slasher film is the killer invariably uses blades, knives, and things, rather than guns or anything else. So it's got to be that sort of stabbing.
Yeah.
Whether there's some significance to that, I don't.
Penetrative.
I wouldn't like to say.
But there is. That's what defines a slasher film, is that people are always being stabbed
true.
or
true.
cut on something.
So I guess that's more an action film thing if it's a gun.
Yeah.
I guess even a maniac cop, he didn't really use guns. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a film we should do podcasts
about. I've seen it, so.
Got Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell and Tom Atkins.
Yes.
That's the value.
And a maniac cop, as the title suggests.
So we're coming to the end of our time. So I just want to have I think we've covered most of the things that we're enthusiastic about and interested about in this movie. I just want to think a little bit about the way it's made. As I mentioned when I first saw it, I was kind of disappointed by the production standard. I didn't think it matched the previous movies in the series. And watching it again, especially now these days, you can see things on Blu-rays in perfect quality, and you don't have to deal with pan and scan and faded print and all that. It looks much better than I remembered, but you can still tell that the people making it, I think they're making it with sincerity. They don't have much money, but they're trying to sincerely recreate what John Carpenter did. And although they're doing it in Utah because it was cheaper to film in Utah than in LA, but I think that no one's fault. They just aren't as talented as John Carpenter and Dean Cundey and all those people. Who is, and they just can't quite do it. It doesn't. The visual. I mean, for instance, there's some interestingly staged moments. Like there's a moment where there's 4 Michael Myers.
Yeah, no, that's a good.
Yeah,
I like that. That's kind of that's one of those little touches that just makes it a bit more distinctive than perhaps some of the others. And when later on the hillbillies they shoot the wrong.
That's right. I love that bit.
And again, that's how Haddonfield's been affected. Everybody's sort of like, and that's a second innocent person.
It becomes like not a witch hunt, not a season of the witch, but a witch hunt. But I really like that kind of.
Once with this. Is it 4 Michael Myers? I think that's really good.
It's one of my favourite sort of acting moments in the movie as well, where the Sheriff Meeker says, "God damn it, Loomis, you just created a lynch mob."
Yeah,
and he goes, "You haven't got a police force."
He's got a good point though.
Yeah, because it's so well. Loomis is perhaps sort of he doesn't care there's a lynch mob.
No.
As long as Michael Myers is killed, it doesn't matter how.
Or captured.
Right, let the vigilantes get hold of it. As long as
he's making a good point as well though, because Michael Myers has just killed the entire police force of the town.
I know you referenced Aliens in regards to like the feel of this, but I also feel it's got a little bit of a Terminator 2 vibe as well.
Prefigures Terminator 2.
Or Terminator as well. I mean, the killing of all the police officers in the police station. There's it's a remorseless killer that absolutely will not stop until you are dead. So there are kind of similarities there.
I think Halloween 2 started the transformation of Michael Myers into a Terminator-like figure, with the slow walk and everything, which he didn't really have in the first film.
No, well, he would just appear, wouldn't he? The first few times he would appear, and then he would just kind of walk as you would normally do. But you're right.
He does seem very robotic. At the end of the first film, when she takes his mask off, and you are reminded, that this is a human being.
It's a real guy. Yeah.
And a young person. But as the films have gone on, it's just like he is a robot. There's nothing under that mask. He's just
a remorseless killing machine.
Yes, who cannot be killed.
The other element of the film that is arguably they're trying to recreate from the previous movies is the music. John Carpenter wasn't involved in the score. The score is done by Alan Howarth, who had collaborated with Carpenter on 2 and 3, but now he's doing the score on his own, but using John Carpenter's original motifs from the original score. What do we think about that?
I don't think it was. Obviously, it's not as good.
No, it's not
like we said, it's just a film though where they are trying their best. I think they're giving it their best try, and I think this is literally them trying their absolute best and coming out with the best they possibly can. But it isn't as good. I think it was. I'm not sure. I can't really remember if I'm confused it with some of the other ones, but I think the use of the music and when it's used, it's sometimes like after Michael appears. So like there'll be a stab or a killing or something, and then it'll play, and sometimes I'm thinking. I'm like, it could be nice if we had the theme very gently here, or just before he was going to appear, or we think he's going to appear, and then it's a fake out or something like that. But I think that's a very delicate balance to find when to use that iconic theme. So I'm not sure, but
I think that the original score is so spare, like we said. It's just 2 or 3 pieces of music used repeatedly kind of throughout. And Alan Howarth obviously is a bit of a sophisticated composer, and he no longer has to do what John says. So he's coming up with his own bits in between, and he's using bits of John's stuff. So what it lacks as a result is that kind of driving sense of the same thing, the kind of building of suspense because of the ding 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 ding.
I do quite like some of the alterations of it. I don't think it's bad.
No, it's a bit more jazzed up, isn't it?
Well, it has the in a late 80s kind of style, it has syndromes. I think if you listen to the theme on the end credits, you can hear the kind of thing under it. And all that is good, but what it just made me kind of realise is that I don't think you can add anything to it. I think the minimalism is the point of it.
Yeah. I almost would have just been worth coming up with something new, possibly.
Well, there is that. I mean, this is the thing about sequels. There's always a problem. How much do you keep from the first film, the film that's a sequel to, and how much do you add that's new? And the audience want to see what they enjoyed from the first film in the next film, in the sequel. But at the same time, we have to do something new, different, fresh to it, and sort of different music as much as anything else. And that just doesn't quite. I thought the music was okay. It sort of.
No, I think it's fine. And I do like Alan Howarth, and I think later on in the later collaborations he does with Carpenter, Halloween 3, They Live, Prince of Darkness, there's loads of good stuff that they obviously are a good team.
The thing is, the Halloween film is so memorable, and it's so distinctive, and it's so, that word iconic, everybody uses it, that, what you change it, then you're changing something that's really sort of, really kind of perfect in a way, and so how far can you change it? Like the Jaws music, it's sort of like, you can't. What can you do with it? Because it's so good.
I'll tell you what, though.
You can play it again.
Yeah, good.
Jaws: The Revenge is mocked, but listen to that opening theme tune. It's so good. It's Michael Small taking the original Jaws theme and running with it, and it's great. Maybe the last thing that we should mention is the end of the movie. I mean, this movie was a success. They brought back Michael Myers. Oh God, I haven't mentioned my fun fact that I always notice most about Halloween 4. Have you noticed it's called Halloween 4, not Halloween IV, The Return of Michael Myers? Because previous films all used Roman numerals.
Okay. Why is
I
that?
hadn't noticed that.
Market research led them to believe that American kids wouldn't know what IV meant, even though Rocky IV and Star Trek IV had
all the WrestleManias. That's how I learned Roman numerals.
1988, I think, was WrestleMania 4. I think because I had that on video. So yeah, so they made that change and they stuck with it through the rest of the series. Then. At least until the Rob Zombie.
I think they missed a trick not hiring Andre the Giant to play Michael Myers.
Well, again, Rob Zombie almost did the next best thing.
Don't mention Rob Zombie.
But so on that budget of $5 million, it took a US box office of nearly $18 million. So basically, it's still not a massive profit margin of the first film, but they're back on track.
Yeah.
They're happy. Well, actually, you know what? Are they back on track? Because Halloween 3, which they considered a failure, cost $2.5 million and made a US box office total of $25 million.
That's good.
Whereas this one cost $5 million and made a US box office total of nearly $18 million. So you know what? It's actually performed less well.
Yeah.
But
I guess if people felt so snubbed by the third one, they wouldn't have returned for a fourth one.
Yeah, I guess the word of mouth was good, which is why they wanted to.
And in those days, it was all about video sales as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to talk about the ending?
Well, yes, but because this film was a success, they wanted to do a sequel as soon as possible. But there is a very particular ending to Halloween 4, which might have affected that. Let's talk about the ending of Halloween.
We aren't allowed to talk about the ending. We're not going to.
Spoilers for this.
We all live happily ever after.
30-year-old film. That's as old as me.
Yeah, blimey, younger than me. Well, I don't know what the idea was. Was the idea that Michael Myers was dead, and then the little girl was going to take over, and she was going to be the murderer, or was that going to be the end of it?
So it looks like Michael Myers has been killed. Loomis,
I don't believe,
is there at the end, even though it also looked like he'd been killed earlier. But he seems fine. Yeah. But then you have a sequence where you've got a deliberate imitation of the start of the first film, where you have a point of view shot of someone wearing a mask killing someone. In fact, Jamie's foster mother. And then in the reverse shot, we are revealed it's actually Jamie wearing the little clown costume that Michael wore at the start of the first film. And Donald Pleasence does an amazing thing when he sees that.
That's my favourite. I think my favourite no that I've ever heard is the Donald Pleasence. No.
I've heard a few no's in my time.
This is definitely the least painful.
So was that the idea? Because we all know Halloween by that stage is all about Michael Myers. You're going to do Halloween sequels to have Michael Myers, and the idea that
they had a
the next year was going to be a 10-year-old girl running around with a knife. It seems.
Well, the thing is, it's not that crazy an idea. There's a lot of films with short or childlike, scary antagonists. It's not entirely without precedent that it could have gone.
It could have. And Donald Pleasence always said that's what the way they should have gone.
Yeah, he said they should have had.
Yeah, but you just think, well, Michael Myers isn't dead. He's fallen down a hole. So he's going to get up again at some point. So what was the idea? That
there's a lot of shotguns that went into.
So I don't. It's a strange ending. It's the twist ending you've got to have in horror films. You've got to have the shock ending. But
it's
where it was going to lead on to, I'm not quite.
I think they made it without a firm intention to do a sequel, and it's the director's attempt to create a memorable finish, and to leave you with that sense of continuing danger that you had at the end of the film.
Well, if it wasn't going to be another sequel, yes, it's a great ending. Yeah. Like evil always survives. Yeah. It's passed down from one generation to the next. And if that's it, but
then Mustafa Akkad said, "We're making another movie next month." So
was it that quick?
It was within a year that it came out. Yeah.
That's,
And
quick
that's
turnaround
what
then.
we will be discussing next
time.
So that was Halloween 4, and we've gone into more detail on that movie than perhaps anyone else ever
In history.
So
I think it's good. I mean, within the limitations it's got, and all sequels have got limitations, and certainly all slasher sequels have got limitations. It's very, very good. I think it's very well made. It's got.
I'd give it like a 3.5 stars probably.
Yeah, I'd give it.
You know,
how many out of how many?
Out of 5.
Yeah, I'd give it
standard 5.
3.
Yeah, 3.
It's Halloween.
It's not a bad movie. It's definitely not a bad movie.
No, it's enjoyable. I like Ellie Cornell a lot.
I think you're always going to compare
Daniel
it to
Harris
the
is a great.
I think it's a fun yarn. I think if you compare it to the original, it just evaporates.
No.
But it's fine by itself.
Yes.
But that's true of all the other sequels as well.
We now
what?
Yeah, of course.
We'll get to them. I'm sure.
We'll get to them,
we now live in a universe where the Halloween franchise has so many different timelines that in a way it doesn't matter what any of the individual sequels are like, because the following one probably exists in a different universe.
Yeah.
So just take
continuity is a bugger.
Yes.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Harold.
Yes, thank you, Dan, for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I hope you enjoyed my acting.
No, it's marvellous, and hopefully we'll have even more of that. So, and more of your nose. And thank you for listening, everybody. Next time we will be talking about, spoilers, Halloween 5 from 1989.
They made another one?
Well, welcome back, folks. I hope that I'm not the only one who enjoyed listening again to my own opinions from 2 years ago about a movie made 22 years ago. That's the kind of cutting-edge podcast I like to run. But also, it's really nice to hear Howard and Spider Dan on the show, even in archival form.
Yeah.
And it even listening to this kind of thing always makes me want to watch the movie in question again, which is
definitely.
I don't know if that even seems to be the case if it's not a movie that I particularly liked, but you know, it's hearing other people's viewpoints on it and people picking out things which maybe you hadn't noticed.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like another pair of eyes, isn't it? Fresh eyes on it. That's makes you see it from a slightly different angle sometimes. But yeah, I agree. Which is kind of what the reason why I wanted to do this series of reviews on all the Halloween films, because I'm not a fan of all the Halloween films. But, well, I suppose I am. I discovered that I think I'm not, but I am. Because, you know, I profess not to like some of them, but at the same time I have seen them all and know about all of them. Yeah. So therefore I'm a fan, and I think I decided, well, I should stop being jaded about this and give myself an opportunity to look at these films afresh. So that's what we did, and I enjoyed doing that. And I suppose, you know, as the listener will have just heard, Halloween 4 was a movie that I didn't like at all when I was younger, and watching it again, I came around to appreciate it more, and also talking about it with Howard and Dan really helped with that as well. So, I mean it converted a bit of bitterness from my past into warmth. So, you know, it's a good personal thing to do for me. I hope once again the listener feels privileged to be a part of my own personal ongoing therapy. Your own journey. Personality realignment. So there we go. All right. So our traditional thing to do at the end of the episode is to just recommend stuff that's coming up. I think we've both got recommendations for this week. Stella, do you want to go first? Yeah, so my recommendation is the third season of the Canadian anthology Slasher is on Netflix now. I must admit that I noticed it was on Netflix yesterday or the day before. It might have actually been there for a bit longer, so I do apologise if I'm being a bit slow on the uptake with this. However, it is a slasher, it is a serial, but it's anthology, so each season is a new story. It's by Aaron Martin, It was on Chiller, which was a subscription channel, and then Super channel in Canada, and now it's on Netflix. And for a slasher series, I think it's really, really good. The first series is a sort of your traditional family slasher, family problems coming back to bite people on the ass. The second series is called Guilty Party, and that's a summer camp. And then the third series appears to be called Solstice. And I've not watched it yet, but I'm going to watch it. And the thing that I thought about slasher and why I liked it so much in terms of, well, I like slashers anyway, but with this one, for TV slasher, I thought it had some really, really well set up and quite elaborate set piece deaths, particularly in season 2, Guilty Party. There's some excellent deaths in it, and I won't spoil any of them for you, but some of them are, they really went for it with the deaths and the excessiveness and the showboating, I guess, of the slasher kills. So if you like that, then do have a look at it. Like I say, it's an anthology, so it changes every season, so it's not going to get dull. But yeah, season 3 is there. Go watch.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So that's Netflix.
Yes, Netflix.
Oh, that's great. So easily accessible for many of us. Fantastic. Okay, so my recommendation is a movie that you and I saw at Grimfest a couple of years ago, Stella, called The Witch in the Window. Do you remember this?
I do.
American ghost story, written and directed by Andy Mitten. And it's on Shudder now. Right. I've noticed. So linking back to our chat at the beginning of today's episode, it's there. If any of you are thinking about taking out a free trial with Shudder to see Host or for any other reason, try and check out The Witch in the Window as well. It's basically an old-fashioned, character-based, kind of slow-moving, subtly creepy ghost story. Drama, really, about a father and son who move into a new home in rural Vermont, I think it is.
In the middle of nowhere, obviously.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. And they're basically planning to renovate the barn, I think.
Yeah.
And as they do this, they disturb a spirit, the spirit of the previous owner. And increasingly, this spirit seems to kind of reawaken and be trying to take control of their lives. And I won't say any more than that, but it is a charming film, which is a funny word to use for a horror movie. But
we both enjoyed it, though, didn't we? I seem to remember.
Yeah.
It was on the list of things of the day that at Grimfest when we saw it there. It was on the list of things that we were like, when the titles rolled, we went, yeah. It was all right, that, yeah.
It was one of the better ones of 2018, as I remember. We did an episode about all the 2019 films.
Yeah.
This was before the podcast, though, but yeah, I do remember that was one of the better ones of the day. So, always there's, well, I say always, it's not like I've got a huge amount of experience going to these kind of festivals, but, there tends to be 2 or 3 movies that kind of that stand out from the crowd of films that you see in that very intense day, and I think
it is
The
an
Witch in the
intense
Window
day, isn't it?
was one of those. Yes, it is. And also, go on. Sorry, Stella.
Is it like 16 hours straight of horror films? Something like that.
Starts at 10 a.m. and finishes about 10. Well, I think we tend to leave at about 10.
We leave the last film so we can both get home on public transport because we're tight.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it must finish at about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, 12
because the last film doesn't come on until 11, does it?
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah.
It's a long day, and by the time I get home, I'm definitely square-eyed.
And you've
and wired.
The only thing breaking up the films, really, apart from like 10-minute breaks, is occasionally they'll have a Q&A with one of the filmmakers.
Yeah.
Apart from that, it's pretty much straight through.
Through.
Another reason The Witch in the Window made a good impression on us, I think, apart from that it was a decent film in itself, was that the writer and director, Andy Mitten, was there to talk about it.
Yeah.
And he came across as really likeable, I remember, and it's, it's just quite an imaginative, well-told story with characters that you like and care about, which is it's kind of the basic thing that you ask for from a movie, isn't it?
In any movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember enjoying it, and it being, well, not being a particularly groundbreaking ghost story, like you said, it was well written and really tight and had enough creepiness and not quite jump scares, but enough about it for it to warrant it being sat there in the middle of a horror movie festival when it was surrounded by films like, wasn't the one after it the one with the little Nazi toys?
Oh yeah, the Puppet Masters, the Littlest Reich.
God.
I quite enjoyed the Puppet Masters. As a bit of daft fun, but
it was definitely daft fun, but there were
serious bad taste as well.
Yeah, serious bad taste. And I would consider myself as someone who can handle watching most things. I think I've got a strong stomach. I think I can handle most stuff. But there was a few scenes in that where I was definitely having to close my eyes. So it was like, oh my God, This is too much. Or maybe it's because it's the last film of the day for us before we left. Maybe I was all horrored out, if that's possible. No, it's not possible. I think the film was just particularly grim in some places. Yeah, that was like, oh my God. Don't do that. Oh, you're doing that? All right then.
Yeah, there's not a lot to warm the heart there, really. Even though, sorry, this is like totally off topic of our recommendations, but I do remember liking the fact that Barbara Crampton was in that movie.
Yeah.
And then she turned up in person at the festival to do a little talk afterwards, and me and you had to just go, sorry, bye. We're running for our bus. So, so Barbara Crampton experienced that walk of shame feeling that many a stand-up comedian, people are leaving? Oh, my God. What's wrong with me?
We should have just shouted, we've got to get the bus.
Yeah, it's
too
very
big for a
important
taxi, sorry.
to protect Barbara Crampton's feelings after all these years. We all know her so much after all. So that's my recommendation for this week. So basically, we've been bigging up Shudder this week, so that's new territory for us.
Not sponsored. If anyone from Shudder is listening and you do want to sponsor us, then do
Hell yes, we can be bought. We have a price.
And it's pretty low.
It's probably shockingly low. I shudder to think. Oh my God. Pun unintended. Hey dear. All right, this is gone. This has gone off the boil. I think it's time to wrap this up. As much fun as it is. All right, thank you so much, Stella.
You're welcome.
Thank you, listeners. Thank you and thank you to Howard and Dan, Spider Dan, for recording with us all those years ago. Next week they'll be back from the past as we talk about a film which, before going in to talk about it, I would probably have pegged as perhaps the least interesting Halloween sequel, Halloween 5.
Halloween 5. I don't think I've seen that one.
All right. Okay.
Right. So I'll have a look, and then I'll have a listen.
I think
could be my homework.
You might be able to get hold of it quite easily. if you look in, I'll just say the usual places. But no, I enjoyed listening to us talk about it again. So anyway, we'll see what you think next week. All right, folks. Thanks very much for listening. And you'll hear from us again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to And Now the Podcast Starts. Produced and released by Ambidextrous Solutions Limited. Presented by T.D. Velasquez, Stella Gaynor, and Howard Whittock. With special guest, Spider Dan. Special thanks to Greg Hume for our original theme music, and to Brian Gorman for our original artwork. All dialogue and music clips from films, TV shows, and trailers are used for the purposes of criticism, in the spirit of fair dealing as defined in UK law, and fair use as defined in US law. No copyright infringement is intended. Please visit our home on the web, www.andnowpodcast.com, for more content and contact details. Or visit our Facebook pages at AndNowPod or at Lee Cushing Pod. Follow us on Twitter at AndNowPodcast or at Lee Cushing Podcast. If you'd like to donate to us, please visit patreon.com/AndNowPodcast. And now the podcast stops.